If you believe that truth is served on a silver platter, you are gravely mistaken. Reaching it demands an arduous journey, one that stretches the limits of exhaustion. A journey you must embark upon alone, with a vigilant mind, an awakened intellect, and eyes wide open, for truth is like salt dissolving in the vast sea. It may be mere coincidence, yet more often than not, someone has deliberately concealed it beneath layers of deception. In any case, allow us to present to you the documentary Secrets of the Hidden World. This is a documentary adaptation of The Biggest Secret by the English author and broadcaster David Icke, a book that has long been the subject of heated debate for the controversial topics it addresses, sparking global uproar.
It is worth noting that we have incorporated a few notes that may clarify ambiguities, dispel confusion, and at some times offer an alternative perspective, perhaps one that rectifies distortions and corrects misconceptions. For while this book gathers nearly all the most contentious and widely discussed topics of the past 2 decades concerning what is known as conspiracy theory, we do hold reservations about certain aspects of its content. Yet, as we always say, do not lose your compass and keep your gaze fixed upon the heavens, lest you lose your way. Take from it what resonates with reason and serves as a guide to truth, for in the end it remains a human endeavor, open to acceptance and critique alike. Sharpen your mind with free thought and critical reasoning, and prepare yourself. The journey ahead is thrilling and gripping, but it is also long, arduous, and demanding.
We stand on the threshold of a sweeping and unforeseen transformation, akin to a crossroads. Thus, we must make decisive choices to unshackle ourselves from the mental and emotional prisons that have confined humanity into fragmented pieces for millennia. These prisons have enslaved us on intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and physical levels through a global government, a military force, and a central banking system. I understand that what I am about to say may sound strange. However, if you lift your gaze above the distractions of the world, you will realize that this is not merely a future prospect. It is unfolding before our very eyes. The driving force behind centralized control over politics, business, banking, the military, and the media is gaining momentum, and the implementation of a hidden agenda is accelerating. Observe the mergers between banks and corporate empires, the political and economic gravitation towards centralization through the European Union, the World Trade Organization, multilateral investment agreements, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the summits of the G7 or G8 nations. None of this is happening by chance. Behind this orchestrated and relentless centralization stand bloodlines whose origins trace back to the ancient Middle East and Near East. By the medieval era, these bloodlines had become the source of Europe's royal families, aristocracy, and clergy, before eventually imposing their dominion over the world, particularly through the British Empire.
This expansion allowed their influence to permeate every nation once occupied by European and British forces, including the United States, where over 40 presidents have taken office, 33 of whom descend from European lineage, specifically from the bloodline of Alfred the Great, King of England, and Charlemagne, the famed 9th century ruler of France. Through the successive epochs of history, this lineage has methodically advanced its agenda, leading us to the present moment, where absolute centralization and control have become not just conceivable, but imminent. If you wish to glimpse the life that awaits us should we fail to awaken and reclaim our fate, look no further than Nazi Germany. This is the world that lies ahead, the result of a plan I call the Brotherhood Program. Yet, most people remain oblivious to the abyss into which we are staring, or to the nature of the world we are bequeathing to our children. And worse still, they seem not to care. They choose to ignore the glaring truth, to turn their backs on reality even as it blazes before them like the midday sun. And so, I feel like a lone cow running wildly through a field, bellowing to my herd. Do you know the truck that comes every month and takes some of our own? It does not transport them to another pasture as we once believed. They are slaughtered, dismembered, and their remains are packed into bags, purchased and devoured by the very creatures who raise us.
Imagine the herd's reaction. You're insane. They would never do such a thing. We own shares in the shipping company and make a decent profit from it. Be quiet, you're causing trouble. This program I am about to unveil has been in the making for thousands of years, reaching its near completion in our era, precisely because humanity has abandoned reason and responsibility, blind to the consequences of its actions on the future of existence. We say that ignorance is bliss, and that may be true, but only for a fleeting moment. For while our heads remain buried in the sand, the storm will come. And because of our ignorance and denial, it will strike when we least expect it. But when we forsake our minds and our responsibilities, we forfeit our very lives. That is why a small minority has always ruled over masses. The only difference today is that this minority now controls the entire world, manipulating humanity at will, thanks to the globalization of business, communication, and banking. The foundation of their control is singular: to keep the people in absolute ignorance, fear, and internal conflict. As they divide, rule, and subjugate the masses, they hoard knowledge for themselves. As we shall see, those who have wielded these methods of control for millennia are members of the same hybrid lineage, adhering to a long-term agenda, an agenda that has now reached a critical juncture.
Yet, things do not have to be this way. Real power lies with the majority, not the few. The reason we remain under control is not because we lack the power to determine our fate, but because we surrender that power every moment of our lives. We passively accept the reality imposed upon us, following systems we did not choose and abiding by rules we did not set, as if we were incapable of change. Yet the truth is quite the opposite. We are the ones who grant legitimacy to these systems through our beliefs, reinforce their existence through our acceptance, and allow them to persist through our compliance. And whenever misfortune befalls us, we instinctively seek someone else to blame. Whenever a crisis erupts in the world, we ask what they will do about it. In that moment, those who secretly orchestrated the crisis from the very beginning step forward with their proposed solution, one that further centralizes authority and erodes freedoms. For in times of fear, people willingly relinquish their liberty, pleading for protection from those who manufactured the fear in the first place. This strategy or this technique is encapsulated in the Masonic motto, Ordo ab Chao, meaning order from chaos. In its simplest terms, create disorder, then offer the solution to restore order. Your order. The Oklahoma City bombing serves as a stark illustration of this tactic, as we shall explore further.
The masses are led and manipulated through various means, yet all rely on mental and emotional control, because it is the only way. A small minority cannot physically subjugate hundreds of millions of people. And though the physical enslavement of the world's population is impossible, it is also unnecessary, so long as one can manipulate how people think and feel to the extent that they willingly choose to do what their manipulators desire and even demand that they enact the very laws designed to control them. This is an ancient technique. If you want someone to do something, make them believe it was their own idea. And since the human mind is susceptible to control, why search for forceful means when one can simply steer a person's thoughts, ensuring they think and act exactly as intended. So, when advertisements persuade you to buy something you neither need nor want, when distorted or fabricated news influences your perception of an individual or event, your mind has been seized. Observe military training. It is a glaring example of systematic mind control. From the very first day, a soldier is conditioned to obey orders without question. If a superior commands him to shoot at strangers he has never met, whose lives he knows nothing about, he will do so without hesitation. It is the yes sir mentality. And this mentality extends beyond the military. How often have we heard an employee say, "I know this isn't right, but my boss told me to do it. I had no choice."
No choice? We have never been devoid of choice. It is merely the illusion of control. In recent times, the list of brainwashing techniques has grown extensive because they want your mind. And once they have it, they have you. The solution, then, lies in reclaiming our minds, thinking for ourselves by ourselves without fear of ridicule or condemnation for daring to be different. And if you ask why this matters, it is because the program I will lay out in detail is already in motion. But if we regain control of our own thoughts, if we reclaim authority over our consciousness, then the program will fail because its very foundation will collapse. And this is precisely what they fear, that we might become free thinkers, untethered from their system, unconditioned to blindly accept everything imposed upon us. They do not need chains to shackle us. It is enough for them to imprison our minds with fear, with routine, with prepackaged ideas that convince us there is no choice but to follow the path they have laid out for us. I have traveled to more than 20 countries, researching these mechanisms, and I have found the same blueprint in every nation. The same policies, the same structures, woven into the fabric of a grander, unified agenda. Yet, despite this, a great awakening is unfolding. More and more people are heeding the call of their spiritual alarm, shaking off the chains of intellectual and emotional slumber. We shape reality with our thoughts and actions. Change those and we change the world. It really is that simple. We shape our future through our choices and decisions. And if we choose wisely and plan diligently, we shall craft a destiny worthy of our dreams. It is a rule that never falters.
Based on this, I shall trace the history of this hybrid lineage that dominates the world today and unveil the true nature of this overarching program. I must emphasize that what I am presenting is a program, not mere conspiracies, for conspiracies are but manipulations of individuals and events to ensure the program's implementation. These conspiracies manifest in three distinct forms. First, the collusion to eliminate individuals and organizations that pose a threat to the program, such as Princess Diana, Princess of Wales. Second, the strategic placement of individuals who will execute the program into positions of power and authority, figures like George Bush, Henry Kissinger, Tony Blair, and others. Third, the orchestration of events that compel the masses to demand the implementation of the program. Though these events may seem unrelated on the surface, they are, in truth, intricately connected to serve the same agenda. The question arises, will a fully fledged fascist state emerge in the coming years? This can be answered with another question. Will we reclaim our freedom, or will we remain enslaved? The realization of the program hinges upon our response to this very question. Therefore, I must caution you, an overwhelming amount of unsettling information awaits, and it may shake you to your core. If your existence is anchored in the prevailing ideological system, or if you find yourself unable to bear the weight of understanding what is truly transpiring in the world, I urge you to turn away now. However, should you choose to proceed, remember, there is nothing to fear. Life is but a journey in pursuit of knowledge. And though some revelations may seem daunting, we live in extraordinary times.
I was faced with two choices. The first, to withhold the shocking truths and present only the palatable, non-challenging information, an easier path that would allow me to remain within the bounds of safety. The second, to regard you as an intellectually mature individual in search of truth and to lay before you these revelations, no matter how astonishing or bizarre they may be. Naturally, I chose the more difficult path. I must share with you all that I have uncovered, not merely what ensures my security, fully aware that my words will invite ridicule from those whose vision is as narrow as a pea and from those who recognize the truth in what I say, yet seek to prevent others from believing it. So be it, for as Gandhi once said, even if you are a minority of one, the truth remains the truth. And thus I present to you the story.
In the distant past, in the lands of the ancient Middle East, there existed a hybrid race. Over thousands of years, this lineage extended its dominion across the world, wielding power through control and influence, establishing a network of enigmatic schools and secret societies dedicated to the fulfillment of their agenda, founding institutions designed to imprison the minds and emotions of the masses and incite them against one another. And though the structure of this tribe is not solely built upon men, indeed, some of its most critical positions have been held by women, the majority of its members are male. Thus, I shall refer to it as the Brotherhood. To be more precise, the Babylonian Brotherhood. As for their agenda, which they call the Great Work of Ages, I shall instead refer to it as the Brotherhood's Grand Program. It is crucial to note that the Brotherhood's grip on the modern world is not the result of mere years, decades, or even centuries of effort. It is the culmination of millennia. Moreover, the institutional frameworks that govern today's governments, banking systems, corporations, military sectors, and media were not forcibly imposed upon society. Rather, they were meticulously designed and established by the Brotherhood from the very beginning.
The Brotherhood's Grand Program is a methodically crafted, step-by-step blueprint for centralized global control. At the apex of their hierarchy, the torch is passed from generation to generation, most often from father to son. Thus, the children selected to inherit this legacy are raised from birth with an intimate understanding of the program, indoctrinated in the art of manipulating humanity, and conditioned to bring the plan to fruition. Advancing the agenda becomes their lifelong purpose, one instilled in them from the earliest years of their existence. By the time they are initiated into the Brotherhood structure and entrusted with the torch, their upbringing has already molded them into deeply distorted individuals. Though exceptionally intelligent, they are devoid of empathy, intoxicated by their own supremacy, and convinced of their divine right to rule the world, regarding the uninformed masses as an inferior species, unworthy of autonomy.
Any child within the Brotherhood who dares to challenge or reject this mold is swiftly cast aside, ensuring that only the most reliable and unwavering individuals ascend to the highest echelons of the hierarchy, where they are granted access to the most advanced and secretive knowledge concealed within those upper ranks. I can name some of these bloodlines. Among them, the British House of Windsor, the Rothschild dynasty, the royal and aristocratic families of Europe, the Rockefeller lineage, and the so-called Eastern Establishment of the United States, a network from which American presidents, business moguls, financiers, and political leaders emerge. Yet above them all reigns the Hidden Order, a clandestine society that wields dominion over humanity, operating in the shadows, beyond the gaze of the public eye. And though these factions form a complex web, each vying for absolute dominion over the world, they are not immune to internal strife. Rivalries, conflicts, and power struggles persist among them, for even within the Brotherhood, discord festers beneath the surface. A certain scholar once described the Brotherhood as a band of banking thieves, united in their schemes yet divided when it comes to the spoils. This is an apt description. Though various factions within the Brotherhood have waged wars against one another, they remain bound by a common goal, the execution of their grand plan.
And in times of crisis, they set aside their internal disputes, merging their efforts to ensure the continued implementation of their agenda. To fully grasp the nature of what I am discussing, we must journey back hundreds of thousands of years into the past to uncover the origins of the manipulation of human consciousness and the ancestral lineage that orchestrates the great work. Indeed, the deeper I delve into this matter, the more evident it becomes that both the origins of these bloodlines and the blueprint for dominion over the earth trace back to an ancient race, or perhaps multiple races, not of this world. They may have come from distant planets or from other, more advanced dimensions. Perhaps they are what we now refer to as extraterrestrials.
Notice that David Icke here alludes to the ancient astronaut theory, citing the vastness of the universe, teeming with billions upon billions of planets, as a foundation for his argument. Yet, once again, we must acknowledge the flaw in formal logic. The reasoning follows this structure. Since there exist innumerable planets, the probability of intelligent and advanced life emerging elsewhere is exceedingly high. This conclusion is valid insofar as it maintains logical consistency between premise and result. But what if the premise itself is flawed? What if the universe is not as boundless as mainstream science claims? In that case, the entire argument collapses. Nevertheless, Icke was careful in his phrasing. By suggesting that these beings may have originated from other dimensions, he subtly gestures toward entities described in ancient traditions, those referred to as jinn or demons. However, his particular ideological framework did not permit him to state this outright. He then proceeds to substantiate his claims regarding these highly advanced entities that once inhabited the earth in the distant past, regardless of the ultimate debate over their true place of origin.
We have long been told that primitive peoples, far less advanced than modern humans, once inhabited the earth. But this notion is as absurd as many of the so-called official theories and doctrines. A mere glance at the awe-inspiring structures that still stand from the ancient world is enough to make one realize, without question, that a highly advanced civilization once existed in those distant times. Yet, institutions of history and archaeology have spun their own narratives, branding them as verified facts, while deliberately ignoring overwhelming evidence that contradicts their claims. For their goal has never been to educate the masses but to impose a singular perspective upon them. Anyone who dares to deviate from the official historical account is swiftly ostracized by their peers, whether they be historians, archaeologists, or members of the academic and intellectual elite. Most of them either excel in their craft and recognize that their reputation and discoveries remain secure so long as they adhere to the sanctioned version of history, or they lack the ability to see beyond their own noses. Scattered across the globe stand architectural marvels, erected thousands of years ago, whose construction would have required technological capabilities equal to our own, if not surpassing.
Take, for instance, Baalbek in northeastern Lebanon. There are 3 colossal stone blocks, each weighing 800 tons, were transported at least a third of a mile before being placed atop a towering wall. Consider this, such feats were accomplished thousands of years before the birth of Christ. Even more astonishing is another megalithic stone in Baalbek, weighing approximately 1,000 tons, the equivalent of 3 jumbo jets. How is this possible? Could you commission a modern construction firm today to replicate this? Of course not. Or take the mysterious Nazca lines in Peru. The ancients meticulously removed the uppermost layer of earth to reveal a stark white layer beneath, carving breathtaking depictions of animals, fish, insects, and birds. These are not small figures. Some are so vast that their full forms can only be appreciated from an altitude of 1,000 feet. These are but a handful of examples that reveal an undeniable truth. The knowledge required to create such wonders, whether the Nazca lines, the megaliths of Baalbek, or the Great Pyramids of Giza, could only have been possessed by an advanced civilization that once coexisted with primitive human societies. Ancient oral traditions, and even the texts of the Old Testament, referred to these beings as gods.
I fully expect followers of the Torah to deny that their sacred text speaks of gods, yet it undeniably does. When the word God appears in the Old Testament, it is often translated from terms that originally denote the plural form of divinity, Elohim and Adonai being prime examples. It is easy to understand why a race capable of performing such astonishing technological feats would be perceived as gods by a people unable to comprehend their abilities. This phenomenon has even occurred in modern times. In the 1930s, American and Australian soldiers landed their aircraft in remote regions of New Guinea to deliver supplies to troops. The indigenous tribes, who had never before seen airplanes, believed these soldiers to be divine beings, and they soon wove them into their religious beliefs. The notion that knowledge may have originated from an extraterrestrial source, or any other advanced origin, offers a compelling explanation for the many enigmatic phenomena that the official narrative of history prefers to meet with silent disregard.
This theory also sheds light on one of history's greatest mysteries. How did ancient civilizations, such as the Egyptians and Sumerians, emerge at the peak of technological and cultural sophistication, only to decline over time? For the natural course of human progress is to begin at a primitive stage and gradually advance through experience and learning. Thus, it stands to reason that a profound knowledge and superior technology once existed, perhaps surpassing even what we possess today, only to be lost at some point in time. Nearly every culture on Earth contains ancient texts and myths describing gods who bestowed wisdom upon humanity. Furthermore, myths from every corner of the world tell of a bygone golden age, an era of harmony and enlightenment that was ultimately shattered by a great flood or cataclysmic upheaval. The ancient Greek poet Hesiod described the world before its downfall in these words: "Mankind lived without sorrow, without vice, without toil or strife, in the company of divine beings. They passed their days in joy and serenity, bound together by love and mutual trust. The earth was fairer than it is today, and men and beasts spoke the same language, conversing with one another. Even at 100 years of age, men remained youthful, untouched by the afflictions of time. And when their journey drew to a close, their transition to the higher realms was but a gentle and peaceful slumber."
No matter how fantastical this account may seem, numerous ancient narratives describe this distant past in remarkably similar terms. Among the most comprehensive records detailing an advanced race are thousands of clay tablets unearthed in 1850 by Sir Austen Henry Layard while excavating the ruins of Nineveh, the ancient capital of Assyria, near modern-day Mosul, Iraq. Further discoveries in the same region, once known as Mesopotamia, revealed that the origins of this knowledge predate the Assyrians. These records belonged instead to the Sumerians, a civilization that flourished between the 4th and 2nd millennia BCE. Hence, I shall refer to these clay tablets as the Sumerian tablets. Despite being one of the most extraordinary historical discoveries, these tablets remain largely neglected by mainstream history and conventional education, even a century and a half after their unearthing. Why?
Quite simply, because they dismantle the official narrative of humanity's ancient past. The most renowned translator of these tablets is the American writer and scholar of Soviet origin, Zacharias Sitchin. However, some researchers argue that he translated an ancient language using a modernized form of Sumerian, making certain interpretations inaccurate. Personally, I believe that the essence of his claims is valid, as numerous accounts and pieces of evidence support them. Nevertheless, I remain skeptical of certain details, as some of Sitchin's interpretations seem questionable. That said, I concur with his overarching hypothesis. According to Sitchin's translations, Sumerian civilization was not a product of human ingenuity alone. It was a gift from the gods. Yet these were not mythical deities, but rather tangible, physical beings who lived among them. The tablets refer to these divine figures as the Anunnaki, meaning those who came from heaven to earth. They are also called Dingir, meaning the righteous ones of the blazing rockets. Even the name Sumer itself was originally Kiangir, which translates to the land of the lords of the blazing rockets or the land of the watchers. The tablets describe how the Anunnaki arrived from a planet called Nibiru, whose elliptical orbit places it between Jupiter and Mars, yet its elongated trajectory carries it far beyond Pluto. Notably, scientists have recently identified a celestial body they have named Planet X, located beyond Pluto. However, its elliptical orbit is unstable, rendering its position inconstant.
According to Sitchin's translation, the Sumerian tablets describe how Nibiru, during the primordial formation of the solar system, caused the destruction of a planet that once existed between Jupiter and Mars. The Sumerians referred to this planet as Tiamat and dubbed it the Watery Beast. Its obliteration is said to have led to the formation of the Great Belt, or the asteroid belt, discovered between Mars and Jupiter. The remnants of Tiamat, as per these accounts, were displaced into a new orbit, eventually becoming what we now recognize as Earth. However, these tablets are written records of oral traditions passed down from ancient times, necessitating caution regarding details that may have been altered, embellished, or lost over time. Personally, I harbor reservations about the Nibiru-Tiamat narrative and the purported timeline. Yet, within these texts lie verifiable astronomical insights. The tablets depict the solar system with remarkable accuracy, pinpointing planets in their correct locations, defining their orbits and approximate sizes, and even describing the colors and composition of Neptune and Uranus. Knowledge that modern science only confirmed in recent decades. Nevertheless, what is truly astonishing about the Sumerian tablets is their depiction of the origins of humankind.
As extraordinary as all this may seem, what follows is even more bewildering. Thus, as we agreed from the outset, do not lose your guiding compass. Keep your gaze fixed upon the heavens, lest you become lost in the labyrinth of ideas and conjectures. And by compass, I mean the religious framework. For no matter how wild these narratives may seem, rest assured that their core is derived from this very framework, though infused with human, perhaps even diabolical distortions.